Hi everyone, my name is Kimberly. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview of how commas are used. I know some of you have been taught that you use a comma to indicate a pause in a sentence. However, generally this rule does not work. On the screen I have The Simple Math of Writing Well by Dr. Jennie Harrop, and she points out 6 rules for using commas correctly. The first rule is to use commas in a list of 3 or more items. You can see this example sentence here says, "My husband loves to cook curry, egg, beef, and vegetarian main dishes." And you can see the commas that go after each item in this list. I want to point out this last comma before the "and" in the sentence is often referred to as the Oxford comma. And there has been a lot of debate in the past about whether or not this is necessary. However, most academic style guides, such as MLA, APA, Turabian, all do require the use of it. So I would always say to use it, just to kind of add clarity to your sentence. The second rule is to use a comma between 2 or more adjectives. We know adjectives are descriptive words, they describe nouns. So let's look at this example sentence here. The old beloved Honda was ready for the highway. Old and beloved are 2 adjectives that describe Honda, so you would need a comma between them. And for this rule, the 2 adjectives do need to be coordinate adjectives, meaning that they are of equal importance. And the way to test this is to just ask yourself 2 questions. 1, does a sentence make sense if you switch those 2 adjectives, if you switch the order? And 2, would it make sense if you inserted the word "and" between them? And if yes, then you use the comma. The third rule is to use a comma to connect sentences. So if you have two independent clauses, which an independent clause is just a phrase that could stand alone as its own sentence, and they're connected by one of these 7 coordinating conjunctions, then you would need to use a comma before this conjunction. And a simple way to remember these 7 coordinating conjunctions is the word fanboys, which just stands for these 7 words: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Look at this example sentence here. I read the entire article, but I could not understand its purpose. So here we have 2 independent clauses. I read the entire article, and I could not understand its purpose. And it's connected by the word but, which is one of the 7 conjunctions. So you would need that comma before the conjunction. The fourth rule is to use a comma with interrupters, and these are basically just separate phrases of additional information that could occur at the beginning, middle, or end of the sentence. So let's look at this middle example here. My mother, a dentist, was not pleased to hear that I had stopped brushing my teeth. So the interrupter here is a dentist. It's extra information that is inserted into the sentence. So a test for this is to ask yourself, if I took that interrupter, that extra information out, would the sentence still make sense? In this case, yes. My mother was not pleased to hear that I had stopped brushing my teeth. It still makes sense, so you would need a comma to separate that interrupter before and after. The fifth reason you would use commas is for direct quotations. So when you're inserting a quotation, you would use a comma before it. For example, William Faulkner once said, comma, and then quote. And lastly, the last rule for using a comma is just when necessary, because the real reason we use commas is just to add clarity to your sentences. So if a sentence is clearer and the meaning is more apparent with the comma than without it, then you would use the comma. So hopefully that clarifies things a little. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you in the Writing Center soon.